Today on the Honor Roll podcast, we are talking about taking research beyond the classroom with an honors senior. Coming up next. Hey Honors Bowls, welcome to the Honor Roll podcast, the flagship podcast of the Judy Genshaft Honors College podcast network. I'm Mridula Singh, a senior studying biomedical sciences and psychology at the University of South Florida and a member of the Honors College. Today, my co-host is Caroline Merriman, a third year studying English here at USF. Caroline, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline Merriman. As Mridula said, I am a third year student studying English, and I'm also minoring in animal bio. I'm really interested in just pursuing kind of the intersection between how human life impacts the environment and kind of connecting art and creativity with the sciences.
That's so cool. As always, we like to start off the podcast with one big question. So my question this week is, did you choose capstone or thesis?
So personally, when I did my capstone, I was actually a marketing major, and I kind of wanted to do a project-based activity. So I went with the capstone, and that semester they were offering one that was an international business exchange. And I'm so glad I did it because we got to work with a team of students from Columbia, and together we designed a project that was a business proposal for a company that would address some issue in sustainability and food tech. And so it was just really great to have that intercultural discourse take place and to get to see that project through and to get to see the end result of it with a really well-rounded team of students.
No, I think that's really neat, and especially because I actually never really had the capstone experience and I never knew too much about capstone. I actually ended up doing my thesis under a research lab that I was already under, and it was wet lab. So it was very, mice-oriented, very, down that route. So today we have Neha Dantuluri here to tell us about her capstone and how she took her project beyond the classroom and abroad. Coming up next.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Hammond. I am a senior in biomedical sciences. To be an honors student, I would say that academics is combined with real experience in the world. Like for my capstone research project, I was able to research medical literacy and get 2 national level publication presentations out of it.
Today, me and Caroline are here with honors student Neha Dantuluri. She is a senior in the Honors College studying biomedical sciences. We are so excited to have you here today to talk about your research experience with the Honors College. Welcome to the podcast, Neha. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hi, thank you so much for having me. Like Mridula said, my name is Neha. I'm a senior majoring in biomedical sciences and information science, and I'm also on the pre-med track. And a fun fact about myself is that I actually grew up here in Tampa. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I also did. And a fun fact about both of us, we went to middle school together.
Yes. Oh, so cute. So then how many years have you guys known each other?
I guess it's been, math. 10-ish years?
3 + 4 + 4, if you count the 4 in college.
Yeah, I count it. 11 years, almost 11 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, we actually interacted in middle school, but then high school to now, it was not.
It was mid, and then we
knew each
reconnected in college a little bit.
Yeah.
Towards the end. Yeah,
brought you back together.
It was actually all the conferences.
Oh my gosh.
Just hanging out in the lobby.
We're like, girl, we need to debrief.
No, literally.
But yeah, no, for sure.
No. So Neha, you completed your honors capstone alongside honors faculty member Dr. Holly Singh. Could you give us an overview of what your project was? You chose a capstone, if I'm not wrong. So just what inspired your project?
Yeah, so actually this wasn't for any honors credit. I was just a sophomore and I was just super interested in global health, women's health in India. So it didn't count for anything, but it's okay. But I did love the experience. So essentially I took a class with Dr. Holly Singh my sophomore year. It was called Healing in Everyday Crises in South Asia. And I am Indian and I've always been, like I mentioned, I was pre-med, so I've always been interested in global health, health disparities. And also something I've been really interested in for a while is violence against women and how that's connected to health issues and also health disparities in general. So after taking that class, I got like a larger understanding of it. And then at the time, they were also offering the Genshaft Greenbaum Global Explorer Award, which essentially we could write a grant and then we write our own narrative. And basically, it's very self-directed and independent. And we would essentially just tell them what we wanted to do going to X country, what project we were going to do, and what exactly we were going to do. Mm-hmm. That was very repetitive. I'm sorry. But essentially, I was able to connect with this NGO in India. It was a women's, what's it called? It was a domestic violence survivor NGO. So they essentially just provided workshops and a lot of other like community resources for people that survived violence in their communities, and also to help them become more economically independent and be their own person like within society. So what I specifically did was I went and I conducted a menstrual health workshop, which was really fun. And then I also, I speak Telugu, and this was in India where I'm from. So it was in Hyderabad, and they all speak Telugu too. So I was able to translate the survivor case reports from Telugu to English. I've never been able to use my Telugu knowledge yet, but I'm really glad I got to there. So that was really exciting as well. But that was the whole gist of it. It was a month in India, and it was a really great experience. And Dr. Singh, like, this is literally her whole career. Like, this is her, this is what she teaches. Like, this is what she did her PhD in, like, especially women's health in India. So she was great. She was a great mentor. Like, I was talking to her all the time, and she's very good at, like, helping you come up with ideas, how to make your ideas better, and etc.
No, that's definitely so cool. And were you able to present this project here on campus?
Yes, so I was able to present it at the Humanities Conference, and then also a lot of people that go to the Humanities Conference, they also have the option to go to the Richard Maxey Johns Hopkins National Humanities Conference. It's a very long name, but essentially it's a National Humanities Conference at Johns Hopkins, so I was able to also apply for that, and I was also able to go to that as well, so it's been really great.
And so what made you decide to like bring your research back here and actually like go through the process of like turning it into a presentation?
I do think a lot of it just had to do with how, as random as it sounds, I definitely felt very empowered being there. And I didn't really want like I wanted to be able to, I guess, take my observations and the things that I learned there and the time I spent and to put it into some sort of tangible product so that I could share it. So it was almost like a continuum of the project itself, and it worked out well. I was really glad, but yeah.
Are there any challenges that you faced or anything that you kind of wish that you knew before you started this process?
Like within the project itself, or just like translating the project to like research presentations?
More so like translating the project into your research projects and like kind of getting that. You said you had a class and then, you know, you transitioned from your classroom to a research project. So, you know, that process, was there anything that like you wish that you just, you know, you knew right off the bat and like you would go back and tell like, you know, the upcoming upperclassmen?
I wouldn't say I had that many difficulties, and that was because like I was like, for example, I was very close with Dr. Singh, and that's because I very much used like the mentors around me and I interacted with them a lot. So even if I did have a difficulty that came up, I would bring it to them and they would help me and we would figure it out in the situation. But I mean, I think I was just lucky and it was pretty smooth sailing. Dr. Singh was with me every step of the way. And then Megan and Lauren were also helping with that grant as well. And they were also really, really helpful. Like they were always checking in with me, making sure that everything was going along plan. So I think advice in a way I would give to other honors students, especially underclassmen, is to definitely use the different opportunities here. There's so many. A lot of them are advertised and a lot of them are not. So just don't be afraid to, I guess, reach out to other professionals or other mentors within the Honors College itself.
Are you interested in graduate study, prestigious scholarships, studying abroad? Serving all 3 USF campuses, the Office of National Scholars, ONS, mentors USF students for prestigious awards and scholarship programs focused on research, international education, graduate study, and intellectual development. If you're interested in applying for awards like Fulbright, Rhodes, or Marshall, don't wait. Meet with an ONS advisor to discover what's possible. You can visit the ONS website or drop by their office on the second floor of the Judy Genshaft Honors College building to learn more.
And a lot of students I also did a capstone, but I did my capstone and then I was done. I didn't continue that project. So what inspired you to keep pursuing the next thing, going from, going over to India and then coming back here and going from one conference to the next?
It wasn't I wouldn't say it was like back and forth. I would see it as like I mentioned earlier, like more of a continuum. So I also, something that really stood out to me was just the different ways in which the research developed itself. I know I keep saying research, but essentially the whole research project was just me talking about like the observations I had within the NGO in India, and they were very successful. They have a lot of people that they're helping, and it's also like very diverse groups of people from different religions, castes, and also different languages and age groups. So I thought that was just really interesting, and I was like I mentioned, like very empowered that they were very successful and the sheer amount of people that they're helping. So I think like that's what was really important to me, and that's something that, again, it does connect to my career goals of wanting to help like underprivileged people and look into health disparities. So what was really interesting to me was this community is doing something that's correct, rather than I feel like we do focus on like, oh, this health disparity exists, like this is bad, we need to deal with it. But I did like how this provided like a different perspective, so I was able to talk about that and provide it. And I think that was something that was really important to me, just bringing in that new perspective that I usually don't see when I'm like reading research articles or learning about this in school.
And kind of going off of that, though, you obviously have like a passion and you have like your career goal, but like how did you come to your topic? So I know that you talked about it was something that you were really interested in from the start, but did you know that you were interested before the course, or like, you know, kind of like walk us through like where that passion kind of came from for women's health?
Yeah, for sure. So my passion definitely has to do with like my upbringing. Like I am Indian, and the place that I went to in India too, like that was where I was born. So I've always had this natural passion, I guess, to work in medicine, and also like in some way, shape, or form do some research or help people in women's health. And I actually didn't really know much about anthropological research, or I guess more qualitative research. And that was what this class brought to me, because honestly, I didn't even know it was possible. Like I had a very constricted brain, and I always thought, you know, wet lab research is the only type of research you can do.
Definitely.
So being exposed to different types of research, like qualitative especially, and how you can use your observations to bring about a new perspective. That's something I really learned, especially taking Dr. Singh's class. And as simple as it sounds, when I was taking that class, I was like, oh, wow, like I can actually make a project out of, I guess, the more qualitative things that I want to learn, especially when I want to go to medical school. So I do think a lot of it had to do with the different types of stuff that we went through in the class. So we went through like different groups in India. So for example, we studied like the caste system and how advocacy and women's groups have helped deal with empowering like the Dalit groups or like the untouchables. And then also like fertility in India, like international surrogacy. Like there's just so many different topics. And like I mentioned, like it's just this natural understanding of, I've always been perplexed about violence against women. It's something that really stood out to me. And also because that was like around COVID, I also was reading a lot about how domestic violence was increasing a lot during COVID and everything. So that, all of that together, and I saw this opportunity for this grant, so I kind of put that all together and kind of just went for it. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was great.
No, I'm glad you did. You definitely had a lot of success and a lot of like things that can contribute to your future.
You mentioned that you saw a lot of like the social disparities and how that affected like the health of people in the community you went to. How do you like translate that now back to, you know, coming back to the States and like your future in medicine? How did it change your approach?
As simple as it sounds, I guess just mindset and the way you speak to people, because I think whether we like it or not, I'm not a judgmental person, but I think we like assume things about people, or we assume things about their past. But I think it's really interesting because I learned a lot more about like trauma-informed care, or just like speaking, which is essentially this big umbrella term for, you know, don't be offensive or mean, like don't go to conclusions with your language, even if that's not what you're intending. So I guess just being aware and being able to, I guess, speak to different groups of people that I don't identify with or are going through things that I personally haven't went through, just being able to empathize with that and speak with these different groups of people. It sounds very simple, but I do definitely think it's harder than it sounds. And I do think a lot of people today, like without knowing, they may say things that are like accidentally casting judgment. I mean, it's not just within medicine, it's like within my family or like other cultures or other people. So I do think just learning how, I guess, I can make a difference by just the way I was just interacting with people. It's definitely a soft skill, definitely not something you can just read a textbook and learn, but I noticed how important that was and how much, I guess, having that trauma-informed mindset was important.
No, definitely. And I think that's what makes so many of our honor students like really good at what they do in the future is like having those like, yes, they're smart and they have like the textbook knowledge. But then taking, past whatever you learned in like the coursework and actually being able to apply it and then learn those soft skills is obviously a whole nother thing. So congratulations that you were able to do that. So obviously you're also a senior and you're pursuing medicine, which a lot of our honor students are pursuing medicine.
Yeah.
But do you have any advice, whether it's specific to medicine, humanities, conferences, but any advice that you would like to give upcoming freshmen, or upcoming upperclassmen?
I would say to just pursue what you're actually interested in, what you're passionate about. And I know everyone says that, but especially for pre-meds, they force themselves to do research projects or be engaged in things that they really don't truly care about, but they just think they need to do to check off a box. So I do think don't be afraid to do very unique things that stand out, but it's not what everyone else is doing. Not everyone else is doing qualitative research or humanities research. All my friends are doing research on bacteriophages and stuff. I have no idea what
Me too.
I have no idea, but I think it's different in a way where I learned a lot, but also that type of research and that type of experience is also valid. You just have to be confident in your own passions. And I guess just overall general advice is I feel like the Honors College is so much, it's definitely developed a lot in my past 4 years, and there's so many opportunities now, especially with the Honors Student Council and then the different organizations and the clubs that they have and the different initiatives like study abroad and everything.
Right.
But I would say definitely, I guess, go out of your comfort zone and bother people through email or through Canvas or whatever. If you find a professor that you find that's really interesting to your passions, just email them and just say, I'm really interested in your work. Can you talk more about my interests and how they can connect to my other goals? And most of the time, I would say I have had a pretty 100% success rate with honors colleges because they're very, very open. They love mentoring undergraduate students as well. So I know it's very simple advice, but definitely please just, even if you don't see an opportunity, just fully just ask them. Because I know Audra and Kobe, they're fully just doing their own project where they, I guess, wrote their own IRB, which I thought was so interesting. And it's not necessarily something that's advertised, but they took the initiative upon themselves to do it. So I think examples such as that, just figure out what it is exactly that you're interested in and don't be afraid to ask people, even if it's not an opportunity that currently exists. So yeah.
No, that's really good advice, and I wish I could go back and hear that as a freshman.
Me too, honestly.
Yeah, but that's a nice part about having honor students being able to tell their story through the podcast. Is you can kind of backtrack and be like, "This is something I wish I knew." Well, it was great speaking to you and hearing about your experiences, advice, and traveling, and with your research and just in general. Thank you so much for coming today, Neha. And if you all would like to learn more, you can refer to the JGHC undergraduate research page under the Enrich Your Journey tab.
Wow, thank you, Mridula, for that amazing interview. It was really cool just to see how Neha took her passion for what she was researching and was able to continue to use that in other places around the world.
No, I definitely think that it was something that I didn't know too much about. I didn't know that you can take your capstone abroad, and I didn't know that there were so many grants and opportunities for you to further your research outside of the classroom.
Speaking of mentorship and involvement, make sure you attend all of our upcoming honors events, and don't forget to check the Honor Roll newsletter and our website, usf.edu/honors, for all upcoming event dates, updates, and news.
That will do it for this week's episode. The Honor Roll podcast is recorded in the Judy Genshaft Honors College at the University of South Florida, Tampa campus. Production assistance is provided by honor student Abby Malloy and Professor Adam Davidson. Thank you all so much for listening, and please do not forget to rate and review our podcast. We really appreciate your feedback. Tune in next time where we'll be sharing more honor stories. Until next time, go Bulls!